Hello. Making sure I'm here. This is Lab 3, Black Holes in Orbit. Let's get into it. So this is just kind of an overview of what we're going over. So first, it's overview, and then you got part 1 and part 2 was a 2-part lab, dealt with black holes and orbits, and then a conclusion about it. So just kind of the overview. The black hole. So the code was set up so that there was a planet orbiting the black hole, and you had to figure out the perpendicular and parallel forces acting on the planet. And once that was figured out, you could figure out the mass of the black hole. So basically, the goal of the black hole portion of the lab is to determine the mass of the black hole based off the moon of the planet that orbits around it. And it can be different for everybody because part of it was seeding, and the seed was based off of your Georgia Tech email. So everyone has a different email, so it could be a little different for everybody. And then let's talk about part 2 of the lab, which was a planet and a moon, and you were actually supposed to be on a rocket, simulated rocket, and you're taking off from the moon, and your goal is to make a figure 8 while escaping the gravity of the moon and the planet. Yeah, that didn't go so well. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later. But the goal of the second lab was to make a figure 8 while escaping the orbit of the moon and planet without crashing into the sun. Then why are we doing this? What's the purpose? And then by simulating the motion of the orbits around different objects, and then like in the second part, that's multiple objects, we can learn a lot about p hat and hat directionality, as well as perpendicular and parallel forces, just through these simulations. So here are the results. Real figure 8 like, right? Anyway, here is the arrows that represent your forces acting on the black hole versus the planet. So as the planet moved around, these arrows grew bigger as it got closer, and they shrunk the farther away it got. And then this was the part 2 lab. It got really messy. But that pink is the trail that your rocket ship would leave behind, and you launch from right here, off of the moon, right here, and you're supposed to circle the planet and get out. But I talked to my TA, and he's like, yeah, I've never seen that happen, so I wasn't going to be the first. But anyway, here's some of the part 1 code. This is probably the more important stuff. First you gotta initialize your stuff, and then here's your delta. This is your change, so finalize initial for both velocity and position. It's pretty basic. Let's see. Norm was a new thing we used for vectors. So p hat norm, and then probably the most important thing was that making sure that your parallels here, so your net force parallel, will be part of your derivative position, derivative time parallel, and that goes along with perpendicular. So making sure that your parallels are with your parallels and your perpendicular with your perpendicular. It's probably the most important part of this code. And then you can figure out the mass of the black hole by doing the magnitude of the force of the net force times the magnitude of the star position squared divided by the gravity times the mass of the star. So yeah, pretty cool. So I ended up getting the mass would be about 1.06 e to the 34th kilograms. It's pretty freaking heavy. But the system is your planet surrounding a black hole. Nothing crazy to do there, but it's just another picture of it. And then, yeah, important concepts. A lot of the code in part 1 was built off previous code, so it's important to get it right from the start. It's true. Making sure that change of V was finalized initial. Obviously, that's making sure that your V hat was done correctly, and importantly, making sure that the parallel and perpendicular forces were lined up, of course. Here's your part 2. Nothing special here. Just making sure I messed up planet and moon a couple times in here. But this would be ship to moon, planet to moon, ship to moon, planet to ship, moon to ship, and then total force. That don't look like a figure 8. I can't do anything about it. I'm so sorry. System. This is the ship, and the surrounding will be the planet and the moon. That's what's acting on the system. Important concepts again is just making sure you don't screw up the code, because if you do, it'll either shoot straight out or crash or who knows. But probably the most important part of this code was making sure that you can tweak the x and y velocity to make sure your ship actually got off the moon But by tweaking it, you could also make it do funny little patterns. So that's pretty cool. Possible errors, as I mentioned, no one has ever gotten that figure 8, and GT even acknowledged it with, like, it might not be possible in the code or in the lab instructions, so that's cool. But for part 1, the mass of it has an extra 0 at the beginning. You can leave it out or you can include it, that'll just change your answer, and that's it.